Okay. Um. Good morning. Good day. What was it? Good evening. Good night. My name is Stefan Sentinel, and welcome back to the Sentinel Show. Um. Today, I know I haven't been releasing a podcast since 2 weeks ago, and today is kind of I would say a recap podcast. It's basically today I'm going to talk about what happened this January. Has anything interesting happened, and if so, I will comment on most of the stuff. So, since I already released around what was it, 2 episodes in January, you kind of know what the deal was with my holidays. Nothing really happened. So I'll just start with how my first 2/3 weeks at Fordham, how I prepared for my classes and all that stuff. So for my classes, um, I have basic macroeconomics. I have faith and critical reasoning, which is a fancy way of saying theology. There's also statistics. I have composition 2. I have philosophy 3000, which is like philosophical ethics or something like that, which I'm taking instead of calculus, since I have my AP exam credit for BC calculus. And I think I have one more. Yeah, I have career exploration, which is kind of a strange one, to be honest. But okay, let me just elaborate a little bit more on each of them. So, basic macroeconomics, there's nothing really to add. It's just basically the same thing I was studying back at Governor's Academy and even before. So, nothing new. So far, it's been just the same thing as microeconomics. So, not even a slight change. That's it. But talking about statistics, that's a pretty interesting class. I've taken statistics when I was in a Russian public school. And that was quite a long time ago, and even then I couldn't really grasp the whole statistics knowledge, so to say, because I would always mess up between like median, mode, and mean, but there's also range, variance, deviation, all that kind of good stuff. For my composition class, it's basically just a English class, like the most basic English class. We just look at the correct way of spelling, grammar, rhetoric. What else? We write a lot of essays. We write like an essay a week for homework, and in class we write quite a lot of stuff too. So but they're all kind of easy, so I'm not complaining about it. What else? We have we have philosophy, philosophical ethics. What is that all about? Well, it's basically philosophy for juniors, maybe some sophomores, juniors and seniors, I think, based on the people that I'm surrounded by. That's what it seems like. It's kind of okay. For most of my classes, I don't even have to do homework, except for composition, where I have to actually write essays. Basically, for all the rest, I don't really have to do much. The first homework for my macro is a problem set, and it's due Tuesday. So I'll just do it, I don't know, on Monday, I guess, or tomorrow. And so that is basically the gist of those classes. Well, I forgot. Yeah, well, philosophical ethics, as I said, nothing too serious. Our professor is kind of like an editor, and he is an author, so he has published some books. Well, he has written some books, and his books were published, and he edited a few books, as I understand. So that is nice. Do you have someone of that caliber? Then we have, what do we have? Then, well, theology. I mean, I'm an atheist. This episode was originally going to be me discussing the reasons, me argumenting for me being an atheist. And so taking theology is not necessarily a cool thing for me because I don't really care. But what is good about this is this class is it's not preachy. So in other words, it's not kind of stating over and over. It's not like repetitive saying, well, there is a God and you have to believe in him and all that stuff. No, we're actually just we're looking at different people who are atheists too. People that believe in different faiths and that do not believe in God at all. So it is kind of an interesting class, but the problem is there's also a lot of writing. So far, there's been none for me. Well, maybe just like one page, but I think I have 4 essays overall in class, and I have 2 big papers, and then I think 1 smaller paper. So there's, you see, at least 7, and we're not counting the midterms and the exams, so it's like around 10 essays to write, which I'm not a big fan of, but if that's how I get my grades, then so be it. Another class is career exploration, which is basically a class where you get to work on your cover letter, on your elevator pitch, on your resume, on all the stuff that you will need when you apply for a job. And do I think it's necessary? No, I think it's not necessary, especially on a freshman level when no one is, like literally no one is taking you on board with the company. Because as we've discussed our resumes and cover letters, we all came to an agreement that there's basically nothing we can add so far. And especially for me, who has worked only at one job before, and it's not related to my major at all. As I've discussed in my summer 2K19 episode about my where I talked about my job, it doesn't help me, doesn't give me a push forward for my business administration career, or I don't know, entrepreneurial ideas, activities. So that is kind of a sad thing because I guess that's the only thing I can put as where I worked. And although it does have like a big status, I would say, oh, he worked at a Canadian gold mining company. That must be pretty good, yeah. But on the other hand, it's at the same time it's not applicable to my situation because I was kind of an intern, but I did everything. Well, I already talked about it, so there's no reason to repeat myself. And so that is kind of that is why I think this class isn't necessary, especially for freshmen. We have nothing basically to add. And so we had a career fair. It was on Thursday. So yeah, it was 30th, I think. Yeah, it was the 30th February. So we had to like dress kind of business formal, business formal, kind of formal slash business casual, just because we're freshmen. And so I spoke to 3 companies. I spoke to New York Office of Management and Budget, BNP Paribas, and Enterprise Holdings, which are basically all kind of banks that have something to do with management and investment, which is basically what I'm more or less interested in. And so, as I understood, they all have internships for the summer and all that stuff. There's hands-on exercises as well as in-class preparations and all that kind of simple stuff. And so I just didn't feel like none of it was beneficial for me. So this whole career fair was not necessarily a good thing for me, for sure. Like, I still have this enterprise card. I have yes, Office of Management and Budget, and somewhere in here I also have BNP stuff. Yeah, and BNP stuff. I don't know why I'm showing this to you, but that is it. So it is kind of strange. It was kind of strange just to walk around and see how people interact with each other in order to establish a connection to further their careers, I guess. That was kind of interesting. And so that's it with my classes. So far, as I've said, I don't have much homework to do, so I'm kind of free. Getting back into my fitness routine, which basically means I work out every other day. I find that to be the easiest way. That is the hardest way in terms of consistency, because if you mess up one day, you're basically all your schedule is off. But on the other hand, I find it to be most beneficial for me because I get enough rest time before hitting different muscle groups, and since I'm not doing splits and stuff like that, it is easier for my muscles to recuperate. And I have a picture from August 5th of 2019, and so on August 5th, 2020, I'll compare pictures, and we'll see how it's been. How my transformation kind of is. But to be honest, I'm basically I'm in a little bit better shape than I was in October. So in 2 months, I basically covered a lot of ground, and then I just stayed consistent with my routine. And so I'm kind of, like a famous, what is it? I don't think it's a quote, but people talk about it all the time. People bring it up that we are sculptors of our bodies. So I'm just, kind of polishing my stuff right now around. I still have a lot of work to do, but it will be something to look. It will be something to look at in a few months. I believe that. As far as my eating regimen, it's pretty basic. I eat twice a day, sometimes 3, but not full courses. Why do I eat twice a day? Well, first of all, intermittent fasting. I don't know, so far I'm just used to it. Since going to American high schools, I just did not feel like getting up for breakfast. So I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing that. I would rather get 30-minute sleep than just do all that shit. And I just got used to it. And my body is used to it. My body got used to it in 2 weeks. I remember I had a lot of small. I had cereal boxes. I had like protein bars and all that stuff, so that I could just grab one while I'm going to class, and that would be my breakfast. But now I just don't take anything, and so I have like a lunch and dinner, or I guess supper, since it's a little bit before dinner. And I basically eat almost as much as I want, but the thing is, I don't eat too many carbs. I basically don't eat carbs. The only carbs I eat are tortilla flakes when I get a double lime chicken salad from Cozy, or it's basically sauteed onions that are basically just carbs. Well, I mean, I obviously also sometimes get when there's a. What pisses me off is when there is breakfast in our dining hall. The only thing to eat is basically eggs and sausage, and I'm kind of getting tired of sausage. I'm still okay with the eggs, but in order to get more of my stuff, I usually also get oh, I'm sorry, I'll just put it here. I'm kind of tired of bending like this. In order to kind of fill myself up, I also get a egg and cheese croissant. Oh shit. And so that is kind of a lot of carbs. And sometimes I would go sometimes the Cozy cafe or I don't know, restaurant is closed, and so I have to go to our deli, which is like right next door, and so that's more carbs. And then I get a fucking protein bar, and that's like 40 grams of carbs right there. And so that is kind of that is like, those small things might throw me off at sometimes, but I mean, overall I'm still doing pretty good. Now so that I basically covered that. Now, what happened this January so far? I can tell like two things straight off the bat. Well, first of all, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant. It was it's a horrible tragedy. Wow, I can't speak right now. To be honest, I was not surprised, but it was kind of I don't know how to say. I was deeply I don't know what adjective to use. I was moved. I guess I would say I was moved by how many people responded to this accident, to this death. How many people actually mourned Kobe Bryant, and it just shows how big of an impact he has made throughout his years on court and off the court as well. It's just immense impact, I guess, massive. I mean, I'm not much of a basketball fan, but I do know that obviously he was one of the greats. And the saddest thing for me about all this is that I think LeBron James passed him like 2 days before that accident, or a day before that accident, for the all-time leading scorer. I think he passed him and became third place. So that was just unbelievable. That was kind of I don't know, I guess that is the definition of bad timing, I guess. I don't know. And so it's I guess we'll bounce back, I guess. I've heard an interesting I've seen an interesting petition to change the NBA logo to Kobe Bryant, which is kind of interesting. I would like to see that. That would be a good way to commemorate Kobe Bryant. Yeah, but apart from that, there has also been one thing that has been on my mind, and it happened recently, like 2 days ago. People that watch YouTube, they know that Jake Paul and AnEson Gib, which is just a fucking awful name. I don't know why would he put that as his YouTube name, but I guess he's entitled to it. So they both fought as not an undercard, but like a main card, obviously, because no one else was fighting. And they were fighting in Miami, and AnEson Gib lost, as I understand. I haven't seen the fight since I unsubscribed from DAZN like a month or two ago, because just fucking $20 per month. No, thank you. That's too much. And there is no replay so far on how well, at least I haven't seen one, on how AnEson Gib kind of dealt with Jake Paul. No, I mean the other way, how AnEson Gib lost to Jake Paul. But it was to be expected. I mean, surely none of guys took Gib too seriously. Maybe if he wasn't such a I know he accused Jake Paul of being Conor McGregor wannabe, but to be honest, based on how he was acting, they were both kind of Conor McGregor wannabes. Like, instead of just hyping it all up, and it was already hyped thanks to JJ. JJ would always bring that fight into a conversation, so there was no reason for AnEson Gib for Gibbo, as they call him, to kind of throw all those words around and in the end not show them at all. So that was kind of disappointing. Obviously, I'm not for, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but I was against Jake Paul. I desperately wanted Gibbo to win, just because I guess I can say fuck the Jake Pauls and Jake Paulers, how they call themselves, and Low Gang, I think. Yeah, they're just, I don't know, really strange guys, and they're kind of hated everywhere now. And so I haven't seen it, but based on how I actually haven't reviewed JJ versus Logan, but you know, I know it's it is too late. It happened like 2 months ago already. Another cool thing that happened, which I've heard from True Geordie podcast. If you haven't heard of them, check them out. They're pretty cool. 2 dudes just talking about everything they can think about. Joe Rogan and Stephen A. Smith commentating Cowboy versus Conor McGregor, and how Stephen A. Smith has no clue, since he is he's ESPN, or maybe not, I don't know, but they signed a deal with the UFC, some of the companies, and now Stephen A. Smith commentates MMA and UFC, and so both of them were commentating that fight, Donald Cerrone and Conor McGregor, and that is when Donald Cerrone lost. Cowboy, being the dude he is, like, he's one of the greatest fighters to ever live, to be honest. As far as I understand, as far as I remember, he has the most wins by knockout, and not the most wins by submission. That would probably be already Khabib. I don't know, but you should not underestimate Donald Cowboy Cerrone, to say the least. And Stephen A. Smith just, I don't know, criticized. He kind of dissed Cowboy. And as I understand, Joe Rogan was not pleased with that. I mean, you can critique someone, but as long as you don't just put all of your attention on his mistakes and rather just talk about how Conor McGregor fought, that would have been a better way to discuss the fight. And Joe Rogan kept saying, yeah, he lost, but Conor McGregor did this and that and that, and Cowboy still protected himself and all that stuff. And Stephen A. Smith just kept kind of trashing Cowboy Cerrone, which is kind of a stupid shit to do, but I mean, he's not a fighter whatsoever. So him not having any background in fighting, he has no experience, and it's not. I like how True Geordie stated that it's not fucking NBA or NHL or football, where you have a bunch of different games all the time. Like every other day, every 2 days, you have like a game, NBA game, or like NHL almost every day. I mean, you cannot get away with saying with bad commentating, with like unreasonable critique that has also nothing to do with showing respect to both of the fighters. He didn't even show respect to Conor McGregor. The only thing he said was basically, I don't think Cowboy brought his all today, and he's disappointed. You don't fucking say that you're disappointed about a fighter. There's no way you can say that, especially about Cowboy, who never gives up. He's like one of the toughest fighters to ever be in the UFC octagon. It's just it was just bad on part of Stephen A. Smith. And so that's why Joe Rogan is kind of beefing with him at the moment. Well, I guess not literally, but they're just kind of posting on social medias, on media platforms, saying that he wasn't right because that's incorrect. And then Stephen A. Smith coming back at Joe Rogan just also doesn't make sense. He hasn't addressed the issues that Joe Rogan posed to. He hasn't addressed the questions that Joe Rogan posed to Stephen A. Smith's critique of the fight, and that's why it just makes no sense for Stephen A. Smith to be commentating on the same desk as Joe Rogan, and probably at all in MMA. He said that, he has 25 years of experience of commentating all sorts of sport, but to be honest, is UFC a sport? I don't think so. To me, what defines a sport is, obviously sport is entertainment, because otherwise athletes wouldn't make money, because no one would come, and then it's basically just no entertainment. So sport is entertainment. In that sense, sport is entertainment, and athletes get paid professionally. In that sense, yes, UFC and NBA, let's say, or NHL, yes, they both are kind of they're both in the same boat. But if we look into sports in like more detail, I would argue that UFC is not a sport. I would argue that UFC is I don't know another way to describe it. Like fighting should not be a sport. For example, anytime there are fights in a sport like soccer, football, even football, rugby, NBA, NHL might be an exception, but they still get fouled for that, and they still have to sit in the box for like 2 or 5 minutes, or even get ejected, depending on how bad the injuries are and how bad their attitudes are. They always get restricted play after that. Fighting, that's all they do. So it's basically taking everything that you cannot put into like normal sports, putting them two people that have beef with each other, or at least, I don't know, for the sake of money and entertainment, they have beef with each other, and they are taking over the place, taking over the octagon to determine who has the right to speak, I guess. I don't know. And to be honest, I didn't even see the fight between McGregor and Cerrone. I should add that one interesting argument Joe Rogan had is when Stephen A. Smith said, well, how much media, like our contract, he said, like, because I commentated this fight, so many people watched it, and then it was like, dude, it's Conor McGregor, it's UFC, it's his comeback. You don't think people will watch Conor McGregor? There's so many Conor McGregor fans, and I'm not gonna even lie, dick suckers that are just, I don't know, constantly, portraying him as the hero for everyone, which is obviously not the case, but that's a podcast for another, that's an idea for another episode. I might do like a review of Khabib and Conor McGregor and all their stuff. I mean, there's so many things online that it's probably useless, but if anything like that happens, I might actually do it. And so, what was I talking about? Wow. And so, yeah, he was talking about how much views the fight got because he was commentating. I'm talking about Stephen A. Smith, and obviously Joe Rogan said, "No, that's not fucking true." Well, first of all, any fight with Conor McGregor gets the views. They get a lot of views all the time. So maybe the marginal benefit, or I guess the marginal, the marginal benefit of having ESPN or Stephen A. Smith on the air with Joe Rogan was minuscule compared to what he posed it to be, what he made it look. He made it look like they brought in like 3 million viewers pay-per-view, which is obviously would be insane, but like that's just not the case. It's just not the case. So that's basically it. I haven't seen the fight between Cowboy and Conor McGregor just because I don't like Conor McGregor, and honestly, one of my prior schoolmates, or I guess I can call him a friend, he is a Conor McGregor fan, and he put a poll whether Conor McGregor would win or Cowboy would win. He said Misty Mac or Cowboy. And I mean, although I have a lot of respect for Donald Cowboy Cerrone, but I'm sorry, it was just I just knew that Conor McGregor would take that based on his new regimen, on the fact that he doesn't drink at all. I don't think he's changed completely, but I think it's the first time he actually showed respect to his fighter at a press conference. Maybe he's playing that game that he's a bad boy turned good, and then at some point he'll just blast again. I don't know. Maybe that's all part of his entertainment and becoming famous plan. I don't know, but it doesn't change the fact that he is not his usual self nowadays, and it's kind of interesting to see how it unwinds and how it evolves. And so, based on his new training regimen, on his preparation regimen, I just had a feeling that there's no way he would lose to Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Not saying that Cowboy is a bad fighter, but in comparison to Conor McGregor, who has the ability to just knock you out with one punch, his punching power is amazing. Not gonna lie. If you catch his fist on your chin, if you don't fall from the first time, the other next two, if you don't fall from second time, let me put it like that. The possibility of getting a knockout on his first punch is probably I would say maybe 70%. Then second punch, it's probably 90. And third punch, and I'm talking about good punches, good swings with proper form and all the power in. Well, I don't know why I did like this instead of proper form. Fuck. Well, you know what I mean. And this is just, if you put the third punch in, I don't know who will stand. I would say it's 100%, but obviously there's a few exceptions. Probably like some people with really strong chins. Not gonna name any names right now at the moment, so just leave it be. Yeah, so this is kind of a shorter episode than usual. Kind of didn't have much to say. I guess I should have just split this episode into 2 parts. Talking about what happened, like maybe, I don't know, maybe I should have researched a little bit about Kobe Bryant, and then talking about fights. Probably should have looked at Conor McGregor and Cowboy. But, who gives a fuck? To be honest, it's Saturday. It's 11:41 a.m. right now. I didn't eat breakfast, as I said, because I don't fucking eat breakfast. And, yeah, it's my first episode back from Russia. So, this, I'm trying to put this out on YouTube. I'll see how it goes. Why not, It's never too bad to try. Obviously, 30, or what is it? It's a 37-minute already. Yeah, 36 and a half minutes of one person rambling and watching at you through GoPro, looking at you through GoPro. It's probably not the best way to spend your time on YouTube, but, if it gets me any listeners on my podcast, I would greatly appreciate that. So, speaking of podcast, this is an episode for a podcast. Make sure to check me out on I'm basically on every platform. The Sentinel Show. TheSentinelShow. The Sentinel Show. I'm available on Apple Podcasts, on Breaker Audio, on Castbox, on Overcast, on fucking Google Podcasts, on what else? Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn. That's a different platform. And speaking of tune in into my previous episodes. I'm just gonna say they are better because I have actual stories that I talk about. Obviously, they're not on YouTube because I haven't recorded myself talking about it, but you can hear my precious voice. And I have, I think I have 2/3 episodes with my friends. I was supposed to have 6, but it's just my holidays didn't go the way I wanted them to go. So make sure you check me out, and have a good rest of your, morning, day, evening, night. Is that what I say? And I hope I will see you soon. Please follow me on please follow my podcast. I know I'm just basically asking for your likes and just basically for your for your plays on my episodes, but that won't hurt you. That'll benefit me. I'm getting paid for that through Anchor. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope I will see you next time. Comment below if you think this is a good format or if you want me to change something. Thank you. Bye.